Let's go ahead. Bring to order the Templeton Community Services District Board of Directors meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 20th, 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Director Spardonish,
Here.
Logan,
Here.
Mortensen,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
and Tyrone.
Here.
Please stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please have a seat. Order of business. Do any of the board members would like to search any of the items?
No.
Okay, we'll just go right ahead to our special reports from Templeton. From Templeton Unified School District. Are you ready?
Yes. So. It's been a while since I've been here, it feels like, but it's the same for all of you, right?
Yeah.
So, I was just gonna give you some highlights from the previous board meeting that we have, as well as stuff that we have coming up on this Thursday's agenda. The big things that we have going on, of course, is the Measure D school bond that was voted yes on, and the direction that the board is going in, and we had a meeting a couple weeks ago with the community, presenting to them the reasons for us moving in the direction that we're moving in. I'll detail that in a minute. And then also giving the public an opportunity through a QR code to comment and ask questions and give the school district data that would help us inform us, what people thought of the plan. And so that plan is, I can't recall if I mentioned this last time, but we're moving towards switching the Templeton Middle School and Vineyard Elementary School. So that would be a swap. And the reason being that the state is requiring districts to provide TK, which means additional classrooms. And there's a likelihood that they're also going to be requiring in the near future full day kindergarten, which Templeton Unified is the only school district in the county that I'm aware of, certainly up here in the North County, that still is doing a half day kindergarten. So both of those situations is going to require more classrooms, more space on a campus. And we don't have that currently at Templeton Elementary School. Also, we've for a long time, probably since it's been this way, gotten feedback from the community that, gosh, having kindergarten through second right next to the same kind of campus, next to the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, is kind of a big age gap and present some issues. And so now is a time that we can move those two campuses, put 3, 4, and 5 right next to TK through second, make that one large elementary school, and we gain that extra space that we need for those classes by having only one library and only one computer room and only one office, stuff like that. That gives us the space that we need for the additional classrooms. It solves the problem of having the huge age gap. What that does mean is that we need to, if we're having the middle schoolers go to Vineyard Elementary, they need a dedicated gymnasium, which is a cost. But happily, the board had said, this is not a move we really want to consider if it means we're going to have to sacrifice other needed repairs, and we're not having to sacrifice that. So it's a win-win the way we see it. So the other things that are going on, we have a new principal for Vineyard Elementary School next year. She's our current vice principal at the middle school. It's Debbie Garcia. So she's going to be the principal at Vineyard. And taking her place as the vice principal at the middle school is Justin Hale, who is currently a director of in our special ed, not the director, but the director for the middle school. What else? Oh, unfortunately, due to budget cuts, we are having to make some layoffs. And 3 of those we have a intervention program to help students who are struggling with math and reading. And the program's not going away, but some of the staff that we have for that. So unfortunately, at this point, it would mean that we can't help as many children that are struggling as we were before. We're hoping that the budget, when it finally does really come down to us, that we'll be able to add those positions back in, and that is our priority. This is the first meeting that we're gonna have. We've decided to implement recognizing a student from the district each meeting. And so this month, or this meeting, it's gonna be Dylan Fairchild. He's a high school student, and he recognized that one of his fellow teammates was in distress at a track meet and helped him. And so he's being recognized for that. We've been doing employees of the month, both for certificated and classified, for at least a couple years now. We're gonna be reviewing the Measure D data that we gained from the public at this next meeting on Thursday, as well as the governor's May budget revision proposals. And then we are reviewing, one that I think is gonna be an important one, is we're reviewing the dress and grooming board policy. We're noticing that the kids are not, there's no accountability, and the district's not enforcing really the board policy we have in place, which doesn't allow for midriffs to be showing bra straps, strapless tops. And the district is discussing with the board, proposing to us that we do away with that specific wording and just leave it up to the site principals. And we'll be discussing that tomorrow. That's it. Any
Great.
questions?
Well, wonderful. Thank you for coming. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it. That would be a big change moving the school sites, so it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
I think it'll be good.
Thank you. Thank you. Public comment. Members of the public may address the board on any items of interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, but not on the agenda today. Any public comments on any items that's not on the agenda today? Okay, thank you. Great. All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have several items on the consent agenda. We have the minutes from our special meeting from April 15th, 2025. We also have the minutes from our regular meeting, April 15th, 2025. We have the treasurer's report from March 2025. We have item 7D, which is resolution number 04-2025, wheat abatement. We have item 7E, riparian agency agreement. The next item is budget amendment, fire department ice maker. Just as a reminder, we have a new report on there. Thank you, Chief, for updating that. Appreciate your research. Thank you. And the next item is our budget amendment for our ever frustrating Everest Sports Park renovation remodels. Do any of the board members would like to put any of these items up? No. Anybody from public would like to discuss any of those items? Okay. If not, I will go ahead, I'll entertain a motion to approve all those agenda consent agenda items.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
And I'll second the motion.
all right, roll call please.
Directors Mortensen,
Aye.
Logan,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Tyrone. Aye. And Fardonish.
Aye. Great. All right, we going to the business item, which is a work of consulting services for water and wastewater master plan. Is this gentleman?
Actually,
Oh,
it's going to be Lori Azim,
Oh,
I think,
there she is.
live and in person.
Hi,
Lori.
everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we may.
I've been a little under the weather, so I'm safely keeping distance from everyone this evening. I'm hoping to be back tomorrow. But yeah, as you will see in the staff report regarding this item, we've had it on the overall agenda or specific plan to update the water and wastewater master plans for some time. The last time we updated those was in 2013, so now we're 12 years on, and quite a bit has happened in the district in those 12 years, including the East Side Force Main project, which rerouted a significant amount of wastewater to our wastewater treatment plant, and some other items regarding our wells and now our Nacimiento turnout, which was actually on the 2013 master plan. So for this effort, we also added in the RFP some items regarding the wastewater treatment plant and the assessment of our plant in relation to some new waste discharge requirements that we see coming down the pipe from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And so the effort that was included is not just a standard water and wastewater master plan update in terms of modeling and forecasting what we need, but it's also kind of an assessment of our wastewater treatment plant and what we would potentially need to do and some options that we would need to look at to meet these requirements that are coming down the pipe. So it's a little bit more than just your standard water wastewater master plan update. And so I think that's kind of why we saw these higher costs come through on that. And so for that effort, we went out to RFP in February. We ended up extending a week and wrapping that up in April, first week of April. And during that process, we also did a tour with all the folks that were interested in proposing. And we ended up with 3 very good proposals, which I believe you guys have had links to. And I know those on the Water and Wastewater Committee have seen those. And we ended up coming down to 2 proposals that were what we would think are the most comprehensive and covering what we asked for in the RFP. And those 2 were MKN and Associates and the Water Systems Consulting, or WSC, with MKN coming in with the highest ranking score at 92 by staff and WSC with a score of 83. So we followed up with the committee and we had a, it was more like a presentation discussion with these 2 different consultants, and the committee ended up supporting staff's recommendation to go with MKN. They put together a team, very comprehensive team, including our hydrogeologist, GSI, and some other consultants that would assist in the areas where they didn't have expertise to help us through this process, and then also help us understand what maybe we could do a little bit later on, because we had a significant amount of items that we couldn't include because of cost. And so at the end of the day, the Water Wastewater Committees recommended that we work with MKN to consolidate that final scope to be for those priority items. And so what you have before you is the reduced scope and fee associated with what staff believe to be those priority items that we need to include at this time. So Jeff, did you have anything to add to that?
Nothing specifically, but we're happy to answer any questions that you have. And MKN, Eileen Shields from MKN is here in the audience and available to answer questions about their proposal or scope of work if you have any specific to MKN.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the report, Lori. Any questions for staff or MKN?
So I do have a question regarding the 3 finalists. Have we utilized any of the 3 finalists previously?
Yes. We've done work with a number of projects with MKN, and we have a history that dates back quite a while with WSC, and have a project that we're currently working on, although it's somewhat indirect. WSC is the county's consultant on our turnout redesign, and so we're involved in that project, although they're not getting paid by TCSD directly.
Okay,
So we do have experience. We don't have any experience with Blackwater.
who came in third? Okay.
Lori,
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. In the memo, you had mentioned, that we are anticipating, new regulations from the Regional Water Authority. Do you know when do we receive those annually, and do you expect that those will be incorporated in, the, master plan and the recommendations?
That's a great question. We're sort of on the edge of our seats waiting for this letter from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. We were told, I would need to check with Justin the exact dates, but we applied back in 2023, according to the requirements, and we were told our letter was coming, I think, last summer.
Yeah,
So,
several months ago anyway.
yeah, so we're still anticipating to come any day. These folks that are going to be working for us and also the surrounding agencies have already received their letter. So we already know what we're looking at,
Okay, so
just
there shouldn't
because
be
of
any
the
surprises.
comparable agencies around us we're pretty sure it's going to be the exact same. Like City of Atascadero, for example, we're pretty well aware of the direction they've gone, and they've actually recently gone to their board with their solution to their waste discharge requirements, which has been quite expensive. So our goal is to, use these consultants, MKN, and all their experience with all the different agencies around here to try to find a solution that fits Templeton specifically in this area. And we already know the areas of concern that, we have high salts here in Templeton. And, the pond systems, they don't treat certain things that the water board is now requiring to be treated. And so we do have to look at some other form to add on or modify the system. So we're pretty sure where it's going, but we also want to look at all the options possible to try to keep costs down. And also looking into grants and funding and all the different methods to try to make this the least shocking for the district, because we are such a small district and have so little connections. So yeah, we'll know more shortly, and obviously I can give you more specifics if you'd like about the areas where we're concerned. But yeah, it's just in general, we know our pond systems are probably going to be obsolete in the next couple of years.
Yeah, my only concern, so I guess this goes to my second question, is the timeline on when when we will be receiving draft and final reports. So it looked like a draft due April 2026 for the master plan, and then the final in August of 2026. And then the capital improvement earlier, either in March and April 2026. I don't know if my read of that was
Right.
accurate. Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
my concern is that whatever new regulations that we have to we are required to adhere to are folded in to the work that MKN and the report that MKN produces. And I know we don't have a lot of control over when we receive those regulations, but if, this is only a year or so out, making sure that all of those are reflected in the report is my only concern.
Yeah, I think we can say we would anticipate that occurring, and MKN's aware of the status that we're in and what's pending, and it's really to our advantage not to hurry that along.
Yeah.
So
is the contract and the due dates flexible?
well, I guess what I'm saying, that we don't want to rush the regional water. We don't want to become a thorn in the regional water quality.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Side.
We don't want to bother them.
So there may be some advantages to some delay, but yes, we fully anticipate working with MKN to to conceptually develop solutions that will work for the anticipated regulations. And again, we're not the guinea pig here,
Yeah.
you know, because we're a small agency, we're late in line, and so these regulations have been imposed on all of our neighbors. And I think maybe Eileen has some further comments on this.
I think from my perspective is whether the public understands that there are new regulation changes within PFAS and salinity levels that need to be applied, not only testing, but also application within the water distribution.
Yeah, and really this is, I mean, I think our big concern is on the wastewater side, in terms of, big concern with meeting these pending regulations. There are also regulations on the water side as well, but I believe, Director Tyrone's speaking on the wastewater issues.
Okay, I'm saying.
Yeah, thanks. Eileen Shields with MCAN and Associates. I'll be the principal in charge of the project and also leading the wastewater treatment plan, facility master plan portion. And we are aware of the pending regulations. There's actually a general order that was released a couple of years ago from the water board that water board has required that the district apply to enroll under. And so that general order, although there's options and ways that the regional board can specify it for each agency and application depending on your treatment process, et cetera. We know what to expect will be required. And so I think any considerations for alternatives for wastewater treatment will be looking towards those future water quality requirements. And the same can be said on the water quality and for the water distribution of potable water. So for master planning, it's quite common to forecast into the future anticipated regulations and requirements. And in this case, you have the benefit of knowing that you're going to be enrolled under a general order, lays out the effluent requirements. It also adds in a automatic time schedule. So they acknowledge within that general order that a lot of these dischargers are not going to be able to meet some of the constituents and effluent requirements, namely the salts. It's a big issue that's across the region. And then there's a way that they've written, and there's always kind of a way, but they've written into the general order that you can request additional time as well. So we'd be looking at that and looking at reasonable treatment alternatives and providing recommendations on that time frame and what the requirements would be for the district to apply for that.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I just want to make a comment. I'm glad to see that we're including evaluation of water storage. I think that's important. That's for emergency and fire. But that's good to know. Same thing with evaluating our Selby ponds. I think that would be important for percolation. Couple of questions I have. One is when we are talking about developed water demand equivalent dwelling unit factor. And that's when we're gonna determine an estimate per for each 1 unit gallon per day. So I noticed that it's gonna be broken down to single family residential, residential suburban, residential rural, and multifamily. Is that gonna complicate things for us? Do we need to go into that level of detail? And then one thing I've noticed is missing, which we've always had issues with, is commercial. So we're not evaluating for commercial and then I guess the third question would be, how are these, I guess we're gonna use these numbers to do a study. So how is this all gonna work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little more complicated than how we deal with it now, where there's sort of a one unit size allocation.
Yeah.
But on commercial, I would say it's a factor of the EDU equivalent. So on a commercial building or commercial property, they can acquire water units that are equal to a residential unit in quantity, right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20. So that, I think that factor can still apply going forward.
Okay.
For commercial development based on those specific needs. But we would get more data coming out of this report for things like multifamily.
Yeah, I could see multifamily, but the other ones, the way they're broken down, I don't know, I think it could complicate things, but I don't know how fruitful it is to know that level of detail, but I guess, we'll
We
see
may,
how it
as
goes.
we go through the data, there may be some revisions to the recommendation in terms of just how complicated we expect this to become, but we did want to, that was actually listed as one of the optional services.
Okay,
And we knew that this was something the board was in, that we were interested in obtaining, so we've inserted it back into the scope of work. A determination of the EDU, if you will.
yeah, I think is a good idea, I just don't wanna overcomplicate things because we only have a staff of one, so.
Well, it's also, do we have the systems to be able to capture it?
And,
Because we would have to bill in that.
Well, this is this is more on the impact fee side, not on the billing
Okay,
side. I mean, we have
impact
a
fee.
billing structure is different. It's based on meter size and gallons of use or units of water of use. This might be more on the one-time fee, the impact fee calculations as opposed to the rates.
And, my other question is, so with the master plan, so I know we have the virtual meters, does the master plan address that at all? Does it come
I mean,
into
it
place?
certainly will from the perspective of potential demand.
Okay, and then so potentially, and then I know we have some, not too many, that are out there, but they don't have a virtual meter, so is it, are we through this master plan, get an idea of like how to treat them in terms of liability or what we could do with those, that, because they're not paying into the system. So they're kind
Yeah,
of,
I think I understand the question. This isn't something we've discussed with MKN. We did provide all of the interested parties the district's water buffer model policy and the current run, which shows that data. But I don't know how, beyond the issue of, we've got, I mean, from an accounting side, this is a prepaid connection fee. They have a right to connect.
Yeah.
And so on your district's financial statements, those are shown as a liability because they're a prepaid fee that we haven't yet provided service for.
but they're not contributing to.
They're not, right? But they're due, if you recall, you imposed 11 years ago now, so maybe not you, but the district board did a requirement that if they fail to connect within a certain time, they're due an increased fee, that this gap between what was originally paid and what the fee is today to make up for that lack of contribution over time. But from an operating perspective, you're right, they're not contributing to our ongoing operations.
Next question is, one of the tasks is to develop sewer loading equivalent dwelling unit, EDU. So is that for our existing ones, or is that gonna also look for?
Same concept as water, same concept.
Everything.
Yeah, we have this assumption from 2018 about how many gallons a day a equivalent dwelling unit is. And
Okay.
we're gonna get better data.
And then, I know like they're gonna look at land use and things like that, so that's something that they will work with the county. Okay, we'll work with the county to figure out the land use and where everything goes.
Yeah, I mean, this information is published like zoning.
And then I guess my final question for you is that, our last master plan we did was fire master plan, and that had its issues. So do you think based on what you see here, this is gonna be better than how the master plan went with the fire, or do we need to add anything to, you think,
I mean, I hope that you're more satisfied with it. It's very different. Other than they're both called master plans, the work was really quite different. On the fire side, there's a lot of discussion on operations and responses and things like this, and this is more infrastructure based. Although there is a fair bit of, forecasting and demand predictions and those kinds of things. So I think there's we've made it clear in the RFP and in the scope of work that we're expecting to get a proposed list of projects and costs. And that's what we didn't end up with originally out of the fire master plan. To my recollection, that's what you were most disappointed in, is that we still didn't know what the costs were. And in this case, it's our expectation that we would have projects broken down in 5-year increments with cost estimates on both the water and wastewater side.
I think their assessment is there's a lot more integration into long-term planning and identification of it. That is more comprehensive to the identification of where we would see ourselves.
Yeah, that's good. That's what we expect from us. Okay,
I have one more question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the capital improvement plan is supposed to forecast, 20 years, forward. Funding availability and time aside, how often are you anticipating revisiting the master plan and it being updated? The last one was done 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's not, we haven't regrouped on that, but I don't know if there's a hard and fast rule.
Yeah.
It could be that as circumstances change, we might have to accelerate our review and update of the master plan. But if they're stable, the data we get out of this might be sufficient for a longer period of time, like maybe once every 10 years or ish. That's just my.
From my perspective, having a planning session, we don't know where the state's gonna come in, any changes and alterations. I think we can look at what we can forecast from what the information that we have. 5-year is a pretty
Yeah.
good assessment, but we could have major changes to standards that could happen after the fact, and we might have to revisit this master plan.
Yeah.
I would
Just 'cause-
also say
because
is during
the-
strategic planning meetings, that's also another opportunity to look at the master plan and say, is there changes that need to be made and adjustments?
Yeah, I just mean, my question is because the cost, for this report is so high. How long will it get us into the future in terms of, until we need to hire a consultant again to sort of update, and provide us with more info? But if we're hoping that we should get enough deliverables and guidance to sort of get us to the next 5 years, I think that makes sense and makes me more comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be disappointed if we had to do this all over again in 5 more years. No offense to Eileen.
Yes, go ahead.
I was wondering, is it gonna result in an increase in our, water and wastewater bills or?
Well, the master plan itself will not. However, particularly on the wastewater side, that's probably something you need to begin to be prepared for. We've got new regulations that we're facing in the short term that we would anticipate both capital and higher operating costs to meet. When I say short term, the next several years out, but they're pretty significant changes to how we compared to how we do operations today, particularly again on the wastewater side.
Yeah,
I think the wastewater is already quite a bit more than the regular water, the flat fee that starts on the bills.
I think one of the aspects we have to take into consideration with is that we do discharge out to a basin, and that water is reusable for other members and communities within that basin. And Lori can actually probably be better able to describe this to me than I can, but that water has to have a certain level of quality. And those standards have increased over the years. And within those standards of that increasing, it also increased the cost from labor and the process. And that is going to be directly reflected to the individuals who utilize those resources.
I'll just comment briefly about our sewer rate. Recently, I did review a board meeting that the city of Atascadero did where they did a comparison of all the sewer rates in the area, and we're about in the middle at $75 per month flat fee. So there are agencies that have gone quite a bit higher than us. So we aren't at the top range, and we'll be looking to minimize that impact on folks as we move forward in this process. And also that we will be looking for funding to assist in this process as well. So until we go through the whole process and the rate studies, we won't know for sure, but just as of right now, our fee is about mid-range in comparison to our neighbors and other agencies.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Any other comments from public?
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is the first time hearing of it, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding. It sounds like new regulations have been imposed that is causing to change infrastructure in the wastewater treatment plant. And that's going to, cost the taxpayers an increase in their rates, most likely. So am I understanding all that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, what's happening, especially with the pond systems, like the system that we have, the state has put a severe regulations mandates on them to get everything upgraded. And in order to do that, it's gonna cost millions and millions of dollars. And so that's the challenge that not just our municipality, but all over the, county as well as state are facing. And so, yes, eventually, everything has to get upgraded, and we have to see, as Lori mentioned, through either getting grants or loans or possibility of raising rates, some of, it'd be a combination of solutions that we have to come up with.
Okay, and so you're saying the state is imposing these regulations, so that's our legislature?
Yes.
And what is the time frame that they're expecting this all to be completed by?
Well, in our case, we have not yet received that letter of enrollment or the requirements, but once we receive that, which could be any day, anytime, there'll be a schedule for implementing it. And then we'll work with our local regulators to develop the most appropriate schedule based on the plan that we outline. It could be several years before the improvements are in place, but that doesn't mean that the rates, it's likely to the district's advantage to get in front of this to the extent that we're capable and begin increasing rates so that we have funds to begin paying down these anticipated projects. So, and while that's, I'm still talking, a year or two down the road before our board and before the public, it's very likely coming. And sooner than later. In other words, we'll have to raise rates before we can pay for the infrastructure, or before we can secure a loan, we have to have the rates in place to finance the debt on a loan. So the rates will in all likelihood be adjusted before the infrastructure is built or certainly in use.
I mean, for example, Atascadero, they received the notice and they are in the process of upgrading their system, so it's coming. Okay, any other questions from public? All right, we'll bring it back to the board. Any further comments, recommendations? This is an action item, so otherwise I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion that the board
Kicking and screaming.
approves the let's see, budget amendment. Oh, that's the budget amendment for.
The award of consulting
Business.
services.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, so that the board authorize staff to execute an agreement with MKN for the preparation of the water and wastewater master plan in the amount of $327,901. Thank you.
Do you have a second? Okay, all right, roll call, please.
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Mortensen,
Aye.
Tyrone,
Aye.
and Fardonish.
Aye. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Good luck with the office. All right, next item is the adoption of our 2025-2028 strategic plan. Wow, we're here.
Well, you probably should have coordinated with your ad hoc committee members before the meeting.
That's
Who
okay,
wants
go
to
ahead.
Present this, but I'll take a stab at it. As you're well aware, you began reviewing the 2020-2023 strategic plan back in December. And then in January, agreed upon a format to develop a new one. And since February, you've made incremental progress along the way in drafting a new what I'll call 2025-2028 strategic plan for Templeton Community Services District. In April, the board president appointed Chelsea Tyrone and Deborah Logan to serve on an ad hoc committee to work with staff to kind of finalize the plan and get it ready for your consideration. And that committee's met twice since and has prepared a couple of items for your review. I guess I'll first by saying the committee has documented the process used, and that's contained within the staff report. It goes through what we've done maybe more historically, outlines the process that we used in 2025, and then outlines the recommended process for creating a successor plan in a couple of years. It also outlines or recommends that the plan be reviewed at least twice a year by the board. And so that is contained in this with the staff report. Additionally, and perhaps what the item that you were waiting on was the ad hoc committee reviewed the final the latest draft of the contents of the strategic plan and made just some very, very minor edits. Nothing that was substantive, no material changes to the plan itself, but made some minor edits to the contents of it, just to reflect wording, et cetera, and helped staff organize things a little bit differently. The ad hoc committee also recommended, after some discussion, that we not bring forward a vision statement at this time, and it was unnecessary for this strategic plan, and so it is not included. The strategic plan itself is shown as attachment 2 to the staff report. It contains a mission statement. Again, this was something you worked on several months ago. Core values, again, something you worked on several months ago. 3-year goals listed in alphabetical order for administration and finance, fire and emergency services, parks and recreation, wastewater and water. A couple of those have multiple strategic goals or 2. And then there is this template or this tracking system that lists each strategic goal followed by objectives and supporting action items. And these are the items that you spent most of your time on between February and April developing. And those items are now ready for your consideration. If there's any questions about any of the specific contents, we're happy to bring that up. Show you on the screen, talk about it as a group before this is adopted. But the ad hoc committee felt like this was ready for your consideration to adopt.
Great. Well, thank you to you guys. Appreciate it. Deborah and Chelsea, thank you for doing this. You guys put a lot of time into it, so thank you. I have a couple of questions, but before I ask my questions, if anybody else wants to make any comments.
I'm not gonna step over you. I do have a question. Please go ahead.
Wayne. Okay. Well, again, thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. Let's start with my questions. First of all, I like the fact that you guys included community engagement. I think that's important, and being able, doing press releases, social media to get more community involved. I think that's a wonderful idea. I think that's a great step. Going to the TCSD strategic planning process, there's a couple of questions there. One is for item 5 and 6, are they meant to be done on separate days, meetings, or are they supposed to be together? The review of the strategic goal in each core area and review and update the objectives and supporting actions for each
What's
strategic
the
goal.
heading?
On page 4.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's under
Page.
TCSD strategic planning process every 3 years.
So it's every 3 years.
Yes. So is that supposed to be done? I think, I at least the way it worked this time, we did it concurrently. They did both at the same time. We did review the primary service areas separate, and then we did the strategic goal and the objective and supporting actions kind of together for each department.
We did.
Yeah, I don't think we specified here, but I think to your point, if you want, we could specify, but the idea I think is to follow the same format where we would break them up by department area.
Okay, so yeah, okay.
And I do believe that given the time allotment that we have, we discuss each individual object. We did have for public meeting internally to discuss after the fact, we did not satisfy that, if we didn't come to a conclusion within that time period, then we have extra time.
Yes.
to-
Yeah.
I think we should continue following that.
Okay, to continue that to a regular meeting. So I think we kind of, I guess,
Yeah, I think, I mean, my reading of this is if we follow the same path that we did before, 5 and 6 could occur on the
Yes.
same evening, it's just.
It could.
for each, okay,
Right.
so just wanna make sure.
Yep.
I just wanna clarify, that's, that's
Of
fine.
course.
The next question I have is under number 7, under the same category, it says timing of biannual review. So I'm a bit confused here because we're talking about doing the strategic plan process every 3 years, and then under the same heading, we're talking about timing of biannual review. Is it supposed to be timing of a strategic planning development?
There's two. So one is the timing of when are you reviewing it biannually? And then also you've got to start your 3 years, so it's
Yes.
got to be on the same cycle. So, and the idea behind this is that the strategic plan should be completed before we begin the budget process. So if we're reviewing it March and September, then we should have, by March, we should be then ready. Well, staff is gonna be ready to start looking at the budget process.
All right,
So it's gonna be on a 3-year cycle
but
regardless, but even the reviewing is gonna be 3-year cycle.
timing of biannual, okay, but
I
I mean, I'm
really
just,
think-
we have this biannual review
Yeah,
under 8, so I didn't know why 7 is says
I
the same
think
thing.
really it's the
Well-
final review prior to establishing a new
Yeah.
plan, so, you know, we could probably come up with a better term for that, but the intent, I believe, was this is, you know, in September of just for the next one, in September of 2027, so 2.25 years from now, you would start this process.
Yes, okay, all right.
So you could reword 8, the heading, instead of saying biannual review, because we've got the timing of the biannual review. But in theory, that's the start of the next strategic planning meeting or process, I should say.
All right. Okay, so my other comment is, I'm concerned with the timing that's on here. It seems like we wanna have the strategic plan done in January and February, so as you mentioned, so it'd be ready for March, where they start the process of budget. And I just think that's a really, really tight window. So I don't know if that could be possible. So, I mean, and I don't know, I have mixed feelings, so, I mean, we could technically maybe start it earlier, like, in, start this process in 27 before, and then another thing is like, we're gonna have a new board take over that at that time. So do we possible, and I don't have feelings right now about it, but should we do the next plan before?
Don't look at me, look at him.
Okay.
So because
Before-
I had to push back later in the months later. Or, and then the feedback from Jeff is that, you know, his staff is looking at the budget, they're starting much earlier.
Yes.
So the idea here is that strategic plan should be completed before they start with the budget process, because in theory, anything you put in that strategic plan, you need to look at, are there costs associated with
Yes.
that need to be incorporated into the budget?
So there is a concern, and I agree, President, on this idea, but I think it's not common. If we have major strategic goals that have changed in the previous years, we can stipulate or should stipulate that those things can be accelerated. But in general practice, on reviewing of what our strategic plans are, we have a continuance. It works throughout every year. We kind of know where we're at
Yes.
unless there's major changes.
Yeah.
And if there are major changes, then maybe there could be verbiage that could be added into this that we accelerate that to for what our current schedule is at.
So to answer your question about the timing of this, I had suggested that in order for, so let's we're gonna do a new one in 2028, let's say,
Yes.
but, in order for the 2028-29 and budget to reflect maybe some of the early initiatives that you develop in 2028, the strategic plan needs to be done by about March, because that gives us time to kind of plan for it in the budget. Well before you even see the budget, because a lot of the
Yeah.
work is done ahead of
Yeah.
time. So I worked kind of backwards, and we have kind of a short window, because we'll have a new board. I mean, not in 2027, you shouldn't, hopefully, but then 3 years later you will, in theory, right? So I felt like we should wait, we should wait until the new board members are known and seated to work on the strategic plan. So it leaves you from really December until about March to accomplish it. That's why those dates were set. But, perhaps you could start a little bit earlier if you'll know the outcome of the election in November. You could start some of that a little earlier, as long as the new board members felt like they were prepared to at least be contributing and listening in before they were formally seated. But it didn't make sense to me that you would have a strategic plan done before the new board were seated in general.
But I was thinking that sometimes I feel like it would be good for the new board that comes on, that they kind of have an idea of where things are going. So, okay, like for example, when you came on board, you were looking at a strategic plan that was way outdated
Right.
and it didn't make sense. But if we have something new for the new board members, then they'll know.
They'll have something that's no older than 3 years,
Yes, yeah.
not
But
10.
But I just know that this was hard trying to, this even time period from January to now, because personal issues come up, there are board members that sometimes can't make the meetings. So it was a challenge, and I know it was a lot of pressure on you, so.
Well, I think the second time would be easier.
Of course, yeah.
Because we have a template we're working with now, and the staff can get a head start with some of this. We were kind of trying to catch up on the fly, because, we only kind of agreed to this strategy like in January, and then we were hitting the road in February, so we were kind of playing catch up. But if the board's comfortable with the template, and we know that going into it, some of that work can begin, in the fall, even on the staff side. We don't have to wait until you can keep making edits to it, but I think it's doable.
I think we can ad hocly advise individuals who become a part of the board that they're elected in ahead of time and get them up to speed. And not have to put it necessarily in this document. I mean, we can always add that language in, but it's not as if we're gonna be exclusionary towards a new member.
Well, and
And I
we've
think-
never had a schedule. We've never
Yes.
had a calendar to say, this is when we start our strategic plan.
Mhm.
So we've not had that in the past.
Yeah.
So I think having
Oh,
it
of
to
course.
say, here it is, this is when we're doing this. I think
Yes.
everyone knows
Oh,
and
yeah. No,
understands.
this is really good. I really like having the idea of having a timeline that we'll stick to it. I really like that, so. But I just wanna make sure the staff is okay, because I know it was challenging at times, so if you're okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
for
it-
us,
We have to fit in, what's gonna work best. It seems to me that if I were a board member, I'd want to be able to participate as a new board member in the strategic plan and not inherit something that was just done before me.
That's
To
what
the
I-
extent that it's possible.
Like speaking, I feel like as much work as I did prior, and I had months of being on the board before the strategic plan, I think that the benefit of having the department heads here to present
Oh, yeah.
and to be able to ask questions, I think is so crucial to helping the board members if they are new, to acclimating, and I think being
Process
part of
that
that
too.
process,
That
yeah.
process.
really-
That's good. Okay, so that's good too. Alright. Okay, I mean, otherwise, and then one thing I noticed was missing, there was no mention of ad hoc committee. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to have that in there or just.
You mean an ad hoc committee to continue to look? at
No,
this?
no, 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 just.
Oh, including the possibility.
Yeah, if you, include a possibility that have an ad hoc committee
To
to
look at.
finalize the draft. I don't know if you wanted
I
that
don't
in
think
there
that-
as a.
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's not
I don't
necessary.
think it is.
Okay, because you guys were on the ad hoc
Yeah,
committee, so
yeah.
that's why I'm asking if you guys thought it
We're
was.
not, we were
We
not.
were really focused on really what the assignment of the ad hoc committee, which was to kind of wordsmith the strategic plan to make sure that there was clarity and that the wording was clear and concise. And that, so we hit that objective, then looking at the vision statement, and we came to the conclusion
I was gonna.
it really wasn't necessary. It was somewhat redundant to create something different. And then the third item was to document the process, which we did. And then also looking at when we would review this
Yeah.
and coming up with some kind of schedule. So I think we've hit those four assignments or goals with documenting this process.
No, you guys did a great job. It's really nice. No, I really, I mean, this is for future reference. I think it's gonna be great, so.
It's better than what we've had before.
Yes. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Morrison, you had a question.
So I did, and this just has more to be to direct for communications to our constituents and members of the public, which is the idea when we have original target dating and we fail to basically satisfy or complete those tasks, how do we communicate to the public that even though we have designed and basically given them a strategic plan, if we're unable to fulfill those things, how do we communicate to the public that there are necessitating circumstances or things of that nature?
So I'll take a stab at it, because we haven't, it's our first round of using this sort of template, but the idea is, that I envision is that this, I'm using the term template, but I'll just this detailed document that's got the dates and everything on it is gonna be a dynamic changing document, and every time it comes before you, there'll be a noted update, either on schedule or recommend delaying, and here's why, and then that would be kept and maintained on the website. Like, this would be a rolling or a running document, so at the end of this, in 2.5 years, there might be notes, there might be 4 or 5 notes next to every one of these with in some cases, change dates or whatnot. And we even talked about how to maybe color code it, so it makes sense over time. So this document probably becomes fuller, or, more detailed as we go, as you have, written updates. And so the public can, the version that's posted online won't be static, it won't just remain like this, it'll be what you receive, once you've received the update, we'll post it and replace this document. That's how I envision it working.
And then as we are reviewing it, I think we had discussed, when we ask the representative department heads, is this particular item on track? And if not, and so I would anticipate that in the reports that they provide to the board, that there would be an explanation if and when a goal was not achieved. And so then we would have that sort of executive report that the public could access as well.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to the public. Any questions from the public on this item? Okay, we'll come back. Great. All right, any comments on this? Wow. Okay. Well, I'm
Very welcome.
No, this is amazing. I'm really appreciative of staff, General Manager Carrie for doing this for us. I mean, all the department heads, everyone. I mean, that's the unique thing about this was this time, all the department heads.
This was the
staff.
smoothest of
Yeah.
all the strategic planning meetings that I've participated in with the district, which was, Jeff reminded me, was 3. I was like, it's like kind of was. But this was the smoothest process, and I think we achieved some good results in a much more efficient way than what we've done previously. So I think it worked.
Yeah, I really like our, conversations, discussions, very civil, and I think, as you said, put a lot of good information down for us, you know, and then for staff to know where we want our organization to go. So, thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. So if there are no other comments, I guess, I'll entertain a motion to consider adopting this strategic plan.
Okay, I will make a motion that the board shall adopt the final version of our 2025 to 2028 strategic plan.
I'll second it. Roll call, please.
Directors Tyrone,
Yes, aye.
Pardonish,
Aye.
Logan,
Aye.
Mortensen,
Aye.
and Peterson.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, guys. All right, general manager's report.
Yes, a couple of items. One, we learned today that the Safer Grant has reopened through FEMA.
Oh, good.
So, it looks like it has an early July deadline, so we'll take through those requirements and ensure that we're eligible and prepare an application.
July deadline. Only-
For the public's benefit, can you talk?
Say,
about-
yeah, right, the districts received Safer is a federal FEMA funded grant program. And we've used it to hire firefighters in the past. We've been awarded the program twice. Right now, we're about 2.5 years into a 3-year Safer Grant that funds 2 full-time fire engineers. It's set to lapse though next February, and so we would anticipate seeking a renewal of that grant program.
No, but any substantive changes to the plan?
I don't know yet.
Just, yeah.
Yeah, this was like just announced today that it's out, so, anyway, Memorial Day, next Monday is a district holiday, district offices will be closed. Easy one for you there, and then, now that you've concluded all of your strategic planning workshops, and thank you for your participation, I'm here to schedule your budget review workshop.
Right on schedule.
We have that tentatively slated for June 3rd. That would be that's in 2 weeks. That's at your next board meeting. I will tell you that in years past, that's taken 2 or 2.5 hours. I think each of the last few years, we've begun at 4 p.m. But we want to work around your schedule. So if you're available, starting at 4 or 4:30 on June 3rd, we're reasonably confident we can get through the budget before your regular meeting starts. The later we start, the later you're likely here at the end of the night.
I cannot. We have a special council meeting that I have to start. Scheduled time.
Okay. Do we want to schedule a special meeting at another date then, or just tackle this as a part of that board meeting?
7 o'clock, it depends, but
I'm
That's
good
gonna
with the
be
special meeting, whatever works for the majority.
If we hold this on another date, we likely can do so. I don't have all the people here with me to make that determination, but we can, so 7 o'clock is the earliest you can make it?
6:30.
6:30, okay, yeah. We can send out a request, we can set up a couple times tomorrow and send out a request to see if everyone's available and set a separate date and time. Maybe the following day or something like that. Even during the daytime, if everybody's available.
And we anticipate that being like a 2-hour meeting? No?
It'd be 2.5-ish, I think we've spent the last.
7 or 8 hours. Get some pizza.
I guess if we
With
did
some
2
mojo
hours,
potatoes.
I'll continue a regular, well, I can't do that, if we don't have regular.
So, I mean, I guess if we can't find a date, we'll just do it during the board meeting, it'll just be a long night, just.
Okay,
Um,
6:30 would be the earliest. Okay, all right, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, any questions for the general manager? Any questions from public for the general manager?
It'll be open to the public that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And then it'll be posted. We schedule it too.
Oh,
And that's even if it's a special meeting.
okay.
committee reports, Water and Wastewater Utilities Committee report. Any questions on the committee report? Board, from public, any questions on that? Tag, any questions on tag from board? Public? Actually, I saw you are now a delegate on
Yes, I
the,
am.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's actually, I owe you all a tag report. We had 2 tag meetings during this period. One was just last Thursday, so I'll at the next board meeting,
Verbal.
no updates.
I could just include the agenda from that on the next one.
Well, that's what's already in here.
Yeah, for, not
No,
for this most recent one,
Oh,
the one from this past
The
Thursday.
15th.
Yeah.
oh,
we can
okay.
use that on
Yeah,
next
oh,
one.
this is April 17th.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, activity update reports, engineering. Any questions on engineering? Oh, yeah. The plats.
Oh, was there, did we have an update from the 5:20 meeting mentioned, which was yesterday? Regarding, Evers?
I'm sorry, that's today,
There was a meeting.
Oh, it's today. Oh, never mind.
is there a meeting?
No, never mind. Never mind.
I'm just anxious for those improvements.
Yeah, that's us.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's us.
Okay, so, I guess from the, engineering report, it looks like the Platts well is still gonna be. Well,
Lori's, name is on the screen. I don't know if she's still actually here.
She's here.
Hi, I'm still here, listening in.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall what I ended at there on the engineering report.
It says that it may need, that Platts, the deep well may need to remain on standby even after all the work.
Yeah,
Yes, so yeah, both Jeff and I are up on this, but with the rehabilitation of the well, unfortunately, the levels of arsenic have risen slightly. Excuse me, we were hovering right at the borderline there of 10 for a while, and I think it was in 2023, we actually had to run to waste for a little while and test for about 3 weeks before we got it below the limit of 10. Well, through the process of rehabilitation, some of those soils that were shifted and the gravel pack that was shifted actually resulted in us seeing a higher level of about 17 to 22 for arsenic. And so we have to find a way to bring those levels down before we can deliver that water to the public. So we are looking into different options for treatment, and we're also looking to blending in the future with the river well. So at the same time, I've been trying to push to go to RFP for that river well. The replacement of the river well out of that Platte site. So until then, we would still like to move forward with equipping the well and have it as a standby, because there is the possibility that the water board or the Department of Drinking Water will allow us to use it in an emergency situation. If we are at a low, some sort of problem with our other wells, that we would be able to use it. Because the reading, they call it, it's like something that's over time an issue. So if it's for a short period of time, the Department of Drinking Water will allow us to use it. So we'll continue to move forward and trying to find the best solution for the district on this particular well, whether it's waiting to blend or renting or purchasing a treatment for that particular well. And there are other examples in the area that Justin told me today he's going to visit a couple different locations that have this arsenic treatment and talk with folks to see what the best approach and their experiences with it. So we're in the middle of finding a good solution on this one. More to come.
Thank you. All right, any questions from public on that? Okay. Fire and emergency services, any questions on that?
I have a question. I don't know, Jeff, if you know the grant that we were denied, was that the 50K from?
Yes, it was.
Do we have a backup plan or for the funding for that relocation?
So there's actually a fairly extensive budget that's been put together for the expansion of the training facility that's incorporated in our fire master plan, and so we are collecting impact fees to help cover some of those costs. This was a way of kind of getting a jump start on that project, so we'll continue, we can apply for that grant again, although I think so they received like 80 applications for the funds. Wow.
Do we know what was awarded instead?
I don't, we may know, but I do not.
Be curious to know what,
Not at this time until they're fully.
encumbered. Okay, yeah, I'd just be interested to know what they have, ended up choosing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for fire? Finance, any questions on finance from the board? Public, okay, parks, recreation and solid waste.
I did have a question from contingent. Sorry.
Constituent.
The signage or anything for Everest Park, they were asking why it was closed, and I don't think they have information per se, and I just wanted to direct them to the right resource.
So we have a release on the district's website. There is a sign in front of on the gate that says closed for renovations. That's probably not the very best term because this is turf renovation only. We're doing aerating, overseeding, supplemental soils, and then field rest. And there's a more detailed explanation online on the district
Online,
website.
thank you.
And the same thing's happening at the lower sports field at German Park, although that is getting ready to open up at the end of the month. And actually in a week's time, well, less than a week.
Just walking the dog and they asked.
Okay, and then, the recycling grants were awarded, do you know? We expect to hand out 2 at 5,000 each. Have we given those out yet?
We have not written the check yet, I know that.
But do we know where it's going?
I-
Or it hasn't been?
One of them was Vineyard Dog Park, I don't know, I don't recall what the second one was.
Now, I found out that even with these, so that's actually something we may be able to talk about when we do our budget. They could get the grants through IWMA.
It looks like it based on what I.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to have that and have that
Our
money come,
budget.
come out of our budget. That's something we may be able to refer to that. All right, recreation calendar and beer run is missing, I noticed, there's beer runs coming up.
It's on
Is it
Saturday,
on here?
it's on
But it's not on here. though.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's on this Saturday,
Oh, it's this Saturday.
yeah, the 31st.
All over the city.
It is, important things.
All right, I'm getting.
Running shoes and short shorts.
We get up early. Okay. All right, utilities, any questions on utilities? No, okay, public utility, no, okay, and then we have 2 reports, one report from San Luis Obispo Sheriff and the other one from CHP, any questions on those? No, public, no, okay.
But I
Direct-
do appreciate that they provided written reports
nice,
for
actually.
inclusion in
I like
the,
that. Director's report and or comments, any board members that you have any comments or anything? Just real quick, I handed out this piece of paper here. This was what was discussed at the IWMA meeting regarding the rates that they're gonna be charging the ratepayers. And as you could see back in 22-23, they, for the residential SB 1383 accounts, basically everyone, they were charging 5.4%. So all the ratepayers, they were paying that amount, 5.4% of their garbage bill. Well, they ended up over collecting, and so now they have like $7 million in the account. So what they did, the following year, they reduced it down to 4.4, and then in 24-25, which is now it's at 3%. So they hired this agency, R3, the consultant agency, to figure out how they could, like, what the rates should be, so they could continue to lower that balance of the fund that they had, that was started at $7 million. So you could see for this 25-26, for the residential accounts that are 1383, it's gonna be at it's gonna be at 1.77%. So they're even gonna lower the rate even more. Commercial is gonna be 2.06. And then, as you could see, it's just gonna continue to go higher till eventually you could see at 29-30 is gonna be 3.37%. So they're gonna, and then with this plan, that's going to leave about $3 million in their fund. So they still have money, but at least they're gonna give some of that money back, that they overapplied it back to the ratepayers.
What's the difference between, you've got historical residential exempt? What's the difference between residential exempt accounts and residential SB 1383
Yeah,
accounts?
yeah, I guess
I
they're,
can answer if you want,
Okay, yeah.
unfortunately. So it's not, we are, most jurisdictions within the county are required to comply with SB 1383. There are some very rural areas of the county, including like Heritage Ranch, that
San
was able
Miguel,
to,
right?
instead, yeah, maybe San Miguel, that was able to get an exemption due to population density or other factors. And so they don't have to comply with 1383.
Okay, so we're under the 1383.
Yeah.
Okay, category,
I
okay.
know, I wish they weren't because it costs a lot of money, but.
Yeah.
So
But
is there any information related to, and I've had questions also about this when it comes down to Chicago landfill on the cost increase for residentials doing dumps? Like if their residential is going down, but the dump cost is going up, is there an offset within how much money that they're pulling into their coffers in that level, or?
I'm not sure about the landfills,
So-
but that goes through the waste haulers.
Yeah, so we pay, so the IWA sets, it's kind of like a surcharge on the rates that we approve. IWA has this additional charge. So customers in Templeton pay the waste management fees plus IWA fees. And they're collected by Waste Management and then shipped off to IWA. The tipping fee at the landfill or just your use of the landfill, those rates are approved by the county. This landfill, the Chicago Green Landfill, is owned by Waste Connections.
Okay,
They run, so it's not Waste Management and,
it's not related, that's fine.
No, it's not.
Nope,
Yeah.
that's
but it's
understandable.
all related. It's
I mean,
just
yes.
Different parties.
not by this particular
Yeah,
agency.
okay. So that's it. And then,
Oh, sorry. Do they know, like, so now they're gonna be reducing rates to slowly build back up? Do they know what they're hoping to level the percentage at
well,
after they have sort of?
after the it seems like they wanna keep about $3 million in their fund, so I think once they get closer, they're gonna see where everything is at. They think right now, because, with COVID and everything, and the rates for the waste, solid waste just jumped considerably, so they're hoping that things are gonna balance out, so
back
I
closer?
think once, so right now, I think that their goal is to be around that 3.3%. Because that's where it's gonna be right at the break-even point for them.
Got it.
And then with that, they could keep $3 million in the funds.
So who approves the IWMA's rates? Is it
The
the Board
board.
of Supervisors?
The board, IWMA.
Isn't that the fox watching the chicken coop?
Well,
I mean, cause it seems like if they're over $7 million, it's like, how could you miss that mark?
Yeah, they
Um,
over, yeah.
yeah,
they way
that's-
overshot it.
There were certain considerations, at least I know from my other job, that they assumed that the cost was going to increase more rapidly.
But because of SB 1383, they had no
Okay,
idea.
so
how
they
much it's
thought
gonna
that
cost.
was gonna cost more to implement
Yes.
that particular set of bill.
And then the
Okay,
county
that makes
left,
sense.
and then the county left,
Yeah,
which made it even more
but
expensive.
the county's back.
Now it's back, so that's why.
Yeah.
So got complicated. But, and then they're also, hoping, in the process of finding an executive director, so hopefully that should be coming up soon in the next month or two. All right, and that's it as far as that meeting. We're done with that, and then so we're gonna go ahead to closed session. Let me first take public comment on the closed session, which is a conference with labor negotiator. Any comments on the closed session? So we'll go ahead and adjourn to closed session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.